Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin is rewriting the rules of space travel, but in a weird way. With their latest NS-31 mission, Bezos has proven that anyone, yes anyone, can become an astronaut. And we're not just talking about professionals who join SpaceX's risky Crew Dragon missions. The key: a hefty bank account to cover the steep cost of a ride aboard Blue Origin's New Shepard rocket. Now, this might raise some eyebrows, especially with the FAA giving its stamp of approval. But not everyone agrees with that. In fact, the head of the department overseeing the FAA has his own concerns. And if that wasn't enough, there's even a growing accusation that the entire NS-31 flight may have been faked, adding even more fuel to the fire of this already controversial mission. So, what's really going on with Blue Origin's latest space venture? Stick around for all the details in today's episode of Techmap. Good news for all those who want to be honored as astronauts without the need to go through the grueling training process. The FAA no longer defines whether people who fly on suborbital flights are astronauts. In addition, the federal agency does not define where space begins. That means you just need money, a lot of money, to take part in a joyride for the elite aboard Blue Origin's New Shepard. Afterwards, you will be listed on the FAA's website and be recognized to reach space. That's exactly what happened to the 6 women who recently participated in the controversial New Shepard spacecraft mission, NS-31. More notably, on the FAA's list, philanthropist Lauren Sanchez, the fiancée of Bezos, singer Katy Perry, and others aboard NS-31 are listed alongside astronauts from NASA's SpaceX Crew 9 and 10 missions and SpaceX's Fram-2 mission. So what the hell is going on? In 2004, the FAA created a commercial astronaut wings program for the crew who flew the vehicle above 50 statute miles, 80 kilometers. But the program stopped in December 2021. Instead of issuing wings, the FAA will recognize individuals who reach 50 miles in altitude on its website. With the advent of the commercial space tourism era, starting in 2022, the Federal Aviation Administration will now recognize individuals who reach space on its website instead of issuing commercial space astronaut wings. Any individual who is on an FAA-licensed or permitted launch and reaches 50 statute miles above the surface of the Earth will be listed on the site. That explains why people like Katy Perry or Bezos' fiancée are placed on par with the true astronauts in SpaceX's Crew Dragon risky missions, given the FAA's requirements. For some, that's enough to earn the astronaut title, but not everyone agrees. U.S. Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy has a different view. The last FAA guidelines under the Commercial Space Astronaut Wings program were clear. Crew members who travel into space must have demonstrated activities during flight that were essential to public safety or contributed to human spaceflight safety. While acknowledging the crew was brave and charming, he argued they shouldn't be called astronauts. Why? Because they didn't meet the FAA's previous standards, back when the agency still awarded commercial astronaut wings. Under those older guidelines, astronauts had to contribute to the safety of spaceflight. And according to Duffy, the NS-31 passengers didn't do that. Also, Duffy highlights that the New Shepard flight is an automated flight. This implies that the passengers do not perform key roles or activities related to spacecraft control or safety, unlike professional astronauts or even commercial crews in the past. Then there's the training. NASA astronauts spend years preparing for missions. NASA astronaut training is considered one of the most rigorous and demanding preparation programs in the world, requiring years of intense physical and mental effort to prepare candidates for the challenges of space missions. To even be eligible, applicants typically need at least a master's degree in a STEM field, medicine, or a related discipline, with many possessing doctorates or extensive professional experience in high-stakes environments like aviation, engineering, or scientific research. The selection process is highly competitive, emphasizing technical skills, problem-solving, teamwork, communication, and emotional resilience. Once accepted, astronauts must maintain peak physical condition through strenuous cardiovascular, strength, and endurance training to combat the effects of microgravity, such as muscle and bone loss. They are also trained to manage the psychological stresses of isolation, confinement, and prolonged missions. In addition, they must master complex technical systems, from spacecraft operations and robotics to emergency procedures, often spending countless hours in simulators that replicate real mission scenarios. Facilities like the Neutral Buoyancy Laboratory allow them to practice spacewalks underwater, simulating the weightlessness of space. Survival training prepares them for emergency landings in harsh environments, while international collaboration necessitates language skills, especially Russian. Overall, astronaut training demands an extraordinary level of academic achievement, physical fitness, psychological resilience, and technical expertise, all to ensure astronauts are prepared for the unpredictable realities of space exploration. But passengers on suborbital flights like NS-31? They complete a short training session after buying a ticket. Except for two people, including Aisha, a former NASA rocket scientist, and Amanda Nguyen, who conducted research at NASA. The rest lack experience in the relevant field. So crazy, right? Some former NASA astronauts are okay with calling these new flyers astronauts, but the difference in preparation is hard to ignore. More ridiculously, Blue Origin argues that their spacecraft crosses the Kármán line, 100 kilometers above Earth, which they say sets them apart, whereas their competitor reaches an altitude of 80 to 90 kilometers. Blue Origin's Jeff Bezos has even suggested that failing to cross the Kármán line could result in an asterisk next to the rival's customer's name when it comes to astronaut titles. In this way, Jeff Bezos has taken the definition of space and turned it into a cosmic puzzle that's harder to solve than a Rubik's Cube in zero gravity. On the other hand, some in the aerospace community have a more straightforward explanation. The term astronaut, at this point, isn't quite right. These are paying customers, tourists, adventurers. So simple. They aren't trained professionals on a mission. Space tourist doesn't carry the same weight, does it? Of course, we also acknowledge that a billionaire like Jeff Bezos isn't foolish enough to confuse space tourists with professional astronauts. After all, you don't become one of the richest people on Earth by mistaking your Uber passenger for a NASA pilot. Perhaps that's the real story here. To some, labeling these passengers as astronauts isn't about precision. It's about perception. When high-profile names step aboard, it becomes less of a mission and more of a media moment. The spotlight, after all, is part of the package. So here we are. The FAA no longer defines astronauts. NS-31's crew is listed on the FAA's site, along with SpaceX Dragon's astronauts, just for reaching 50 miles. But they didn't operate the spacecraft, didn't train like professionals, and didn't meet past safety criteria. Are they astronauts, or are they tourists? What do you think? Should crossing a certain height be enough? Or does the title astronaut still mean something more? Let us know in the comments. And the questions surrounding NS-31 go beyond defining whether the participants were astronauts or tourists to the authenticity of the mission. You heard right. A spacecraft launches. It reaches space. It lands. The crew steps out, smiling for the cameras. But what if someone told you it was all fake? That's the question swirling around Blue Origin's NS-31 flight as a wave of online speculation gains traction. From AI-generated imagery to door-opening drama, critics have pointed fingers. The concerns start with the visuals. Some viewers claim the footage looks too polished, maybe even generated by AI or CGI. Then there's the landing. According to skeptics, the capsule's descent seems too smooth. So smooth, in fact, that it raises doubts. Could a landing like that really happen without causing injury? And finally, the moment that caught everyone's eye. A person inside the capsule opens the door before Jeff Bezos arrives with tools in hand. If this was a dramatic welcome home scene, why did it look so staged? But let's look at the counterpoints. First, the AI claims. The footage has been analyzed using AI detection tools. The results? Very low, just 0 to 5%. That suggests the video is not AI generated. Then the landings. This wasn't Blue Origin's first flight, it was the 11th. The capsule uses a special airflow-based system to absorb the shock, resulting in 2 audible jerks that soften the final impact. Now about that door. Yes, someone inside the capsule opens it before Bezos arrives with a tool. But that doesn't mean it was fake. This could have been part of a standard testing process, likely involving communication checks and entry-exit rehearsals by the crew inside. Then there's the theory that sticks with people. Was the door moment just for the cameras? Some believe Bezos' dramatic appearance with the tool was more about public relations, a carefully crafted photo op. Especially since this flight was highlighted for its all-women crew and what many saw as a politically correct milestone. But even those who suggest it was PR say that doesn't mean the flight was fake. It means the event was used to promote the company, something not uncommon in today's space race. So, was the flight fake? Or are we witnessing a new kind of space travel, one wrapped in branding, symbolism, and media? The footage passed AI testing. The landing system checks out. The door moment may have a routine explanation. And this wasn't a one-off. Blue Origin has flown multiple missions. In the end, the questions may say less about spaceflight and more about how we watch it. What do you think? Is it smoke and mirrors or space and science? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's talk. On Monday, April 14th, Blue Origin successfully completed its 11th human spaceflight for the New Shepard program, featuring an all-female crew. The suborbital mission lifted off from Launch Site 1 in West Texas, lasting about 11 minutes. New Shepard launched with Blue Origin's RSS Kármán line space capsule, carrying Perry alongside crew members Gail King, Lauren Sanchez, Aisha Bowe, Carrie Ann Flynn, and Amanda Nguyen. The whole flight offered the NS-31 passengers about 4 minutes of weightlessness as their capsule arced above the Kármán line, the internationally recognized boundary of space that resides at an altitude of 62 miles, 100 kilometers. Though their time in space was short, all 6 stepped away from the experience feeling a serene sense of awe and humble amazement. It is the highest high, and it is surrender to the unknown. Trust, Perry said after landing. Each crew member brought an assortment of small items with them to space, including individual zero-G indicators, which are used to signal that a spacecraft has reached microgravity when they begin floating around the cabin.